All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk 95.1 FM and 790 AM KFYO. Thank you very much for tuning in this morning. Last night, of course, we were talking about today we were talking about last night's Lubbock City Council meeting, and in studio with me right now, a guy who wants to be on the Lubbock City Council, candidate for Lubbock City Council in District 1. It is Pat Kelly. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chad. Appreciate the invitation to be here and view my concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an election that I think is sneaking up on some people because we're about 2 weeks away from early voting, and I mean, really, it's kind of sneaking up on some folks out there. So, tell people a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yes, thank you. As you say, my name is Patrick Kelly. I go by Pat Kelly. I'm a lifelong public servant. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I'm a retired police detective of 30 years. I coach youth baseball teams. I graduated from Wayland Baptist University with a criminal justice degree and a psychology degree. I think most people know I'm a successful business man with strong financial and budgeting skills. My passion is affordable homes. That's why I live in District 1 and want to represent District 1. As you know, I've probably built many, 44 affordable homes in District 1 and 2, and remodeled many others.
And what was it in this race? You know, you bring up affordable homes, affordable housing. What was it that made you go, this is the time to run for Lubbock City Council?
After being retired for about 10 years now, I've came out of retirement and wanted to do some more affordable homes in District 1 and 2, which is my passion. I started working with NELCDC, trying to build some affordable homes in the area, especially in Kings Dominion. And it just seems like I was hitting a roadblock after roadblock with getting affordable homes in the area. So I just started looking around and said, well, I've talked to the current city councilman and expressed some issues I had with NELCDC. So I decided to look into what was going on over there and the lack of what was going on over there. And I decided, this is probably a good time to get District 1 going in a different direction.
Well, and you bring up the NELCDC. I know you kind of had a little bit of a hand in what's kind of transpired as far as kind of moving away from what they were doing.
I did. When I looked into it, I found out, in my opinion, it wasn't really serving the community that it should have been doing. It just needed a change in direction. And so I decided to look at it and get some things done. And thanks to the city council and some other city officials, we got things going in a different direction, a better direction.
Right. And now you're running for Lubbock City Council. I know you've been doing a lot of block walking. We were talking about that before we went on the air today. What are you hearing from citizens in District 1?
They're ready for a change. I've talked to many of the constituents. I actually knock on the doors myself. I've spent the last couple weeks knocking on doors, and the biggest concern I have is that there's not been any interaction between our current city councilman and the district. So I'm one for face-to-face. I put out my cell phone number, my personal cell phone number, and asked them to call me with any concerns. We need to be visible in our district, and it's just not happening now. And I think that's the biggest problem facing District 1 right now is the lack of interaction between the current city council member and the constituents.
Is that something that a lot of people are telling you, that they just haven't heard from the current city councilman?
That's correct. That's block after block after block. I'm hearing that concern from them.
And so how would you change things up? Let's say if you were on the Lubbock City Council right now, how would you change things up to improve that communication?
Well, first of all, I'm a true believer in transparency. We need to actually have community involvement between city officials and the residents of the community. I propose, and I've talked to our current city councilmen about having at least monthly meetings, town hall meetings, not once every 3 or 6 months or once a year. We need monthly. We need it. District 1 is so diverse. We have from the airport to almost 63rd and South Avenue Q. So we have the Lubbock Country Club. We have Hillcrest Country Club. We move north to Arnott, Benson, Guadalupe, Jackson, Mahan, across to Overton, South Overton, then into heart of Lubbock, and so on southwards. It's such a diverse community. We'll really need input from all sections of the community.
Well, and it seems like to me that District 1, there are a lot of things going on in District 1. You know, you have downtown redevelopment. You have changes that are going to be made at the airport that maybe some people missed at last night's council meeting, but there's going to be some changes out at the airport. There's a possibility of a development going out near the airport. There's a lot of stuff going on in District 1 that I'm sure a lot of people have questions about and that they want answers about, because that district's going to be changing over the next few years.
It will. They're going to redistrict in 2020, what I understand, and talking about the project, the Regis Park project. I attended that meeting last Friday, and I had conversation with the developer and the real estate lady, and actually going to have more communication with them. I have some concerns and some questions about, as you know, I am a builder, so I understand the process it's going to take to get that done. I have concerns about if it's going to be private investment, a partnership between private and public money involved in it. There's still a lot of answers. We're a long way to go from finalizing that deal, I believe.
We're going to go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Pat Kelly, candidate for Lubbock City Council in District 1. When we come back, we'll get to some issues that are facing the council now, some issues that have faced the council in the past, and some issues that may come up in the future, and if elected, how Mr. Kelly would handle some of those issues. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO. We'll be right back. Candidate for Lubbock City Council in District 1, Pat Kelly, in studio with me. Let's take a look at a little bit from last night's Lubbock City Council meeting. As you know, annexation, that's been hot in the news over the last few weeks. And I know you probably don't have all the information that, you know, a Lubbock City Council person would have right in front of them. But what is your overall view on the debate that's been happening with annexation?
Well, first of all, I'll say I'm not anti-annexation. The voluntary annexation that occurred in South and Southwest Lubbock, as long as we don't use too much of tax dollars on that, I don't have an issue with voluntary annexation. I have a tremendous issue about the annexation that will be in my district when I'm elected, which is out near the airport. That people spent their life savings, hard-earned money to move outside the city where they want to and have animals and everything, and they didn't want to be annexed. And I don't believe they was really heard by the councilmen, because I attended that meeting a couple sessions ago, and there's some concerns I've got about annexing out by the airport to New Deal. I have concerns about that.
And is it a mix of, you know, people who don't want to be in the city, but also maybe city services, you know, and seeing if we have enough? There's also an argument that, you know, we've got some buildings that aren't properly maintained as it is right now. Why keep growing?
I agree with you. I do, as a builder, understand the need for growth. Yeah. But is this the correct time for growth? I mean, we got a $1.5 billion. That's with a B, $billion deficit we're working on right now. And to include a large area like the 3 annexations we're doing will be expensive.
Right.
The people has not been as vocal out in the west and northwest as they have in my district when I become city council member, District 1 out near the airport. Some numbers I've heard, it's probably going to increase the tax rolls, $40,000 for property tax income. but it's going to take millions of dollars for infrastructure out there. And how long is it going to take? I hear their concerns. I really do.
Yeah. You bring up Lubbock's debt load, and that is something that candidates bring up when they're running for office, and then they never bring it up again, it seems, once they get elected. So how are you going to be any different if elected on the council, and how do we reduce the debt load in the city of Lubbock?
First of all, the 15-16 budget was $743.6 million. Last year's budget, 17-18, was $818.6 million, and that's an increase of $75 million to the budget. So we really need to address that situation. We really need to look at the fees, take a hard look at the fees of stormwater, garbage, sewer. They're vital to us, but still some of the people are really suffering with them fees. It's not the water they use or the electricity amount of utilities they use. It's the fees that's really hurting people. I feel it. I talk to the neighborhood people. They feel it.
Mm-hmm. We're visiting with Pat Kelly, candidate for Lubbock City Council in District 1. We'll go ahead and take our final break. When we come back, we'll have one more segment with Pat Kelly, candidate for Lubbock City Council in District 1. We've got Pat Kelly, candidate for Lubbock City Council in District 1, joining us here on the program. Let's take a look at some stuff going on that's in your district. That's downtown Lubbock. You've got Citizens Tower, which is a shell of what it once was, but that is the future City Hall. What are your overall thoughts on that project and how it's been handled?
Well, I see it every day. I have property downtown. My office is downtown, so I see that. It's just a few blocks from where my office is. And when the original budget, if I remember the numbers correctly, was $63 million, that's not outrageous for what they're doing for it. One of the concerns I have that when we're going to keep incurring costs above that $63 million, where I would have a problem with it. We need a facility to get some of the outlying projects, in town. We really need that.
And do you think that should have been something that went to the voters, or did you like how the city council just went ahead and did it on their own?
Absolutely, I believe it should have went to the voters. Any project, expensive project, we need to take to the voters. The voters should have a right to say what happens to their tax dollars.
What are you hearing from folks when you're walking blocks and talking to people? Does the Coliseum Auditorium vote come up? Do they say anything to you about that or ask your opinion on it?
Actually, very few people, as you know, I'm in District 1, had much input on the Coliseum, which really surprises me. I thought it would be a hotter topic. I think as we get closer to elections, early voting just starts in a few days.
Yeah.
I think we'll see more on television, radio about it. It will probably pique some interest. But right now, I just don't hear a lot about it. And we need to discuss it.
What are your thoughts on it?
Well, as a business person, it's in fact we're losing $700,000, which I hear we are and I hear we're not. We need to really look at it as a business person. Leave your emotions out of it and understand some people that live in the area, which is my district, drive by it every day. And there's emotionals attached to it. My kids graduated in the Coliseum. I understand emotions, but as a business person, I really need to look at the financial end of it. But if the voters want to give it to Texas Tech, we need to, we cannot sell it to them. We know that. But I would like to look at an option of maybe trading it dirt for dirt, as we did in Lubbock Landmark, and I believe it was Burl Huffman. I would love for our city officials to look at that and see if that's possible.
Well, what would that do?
Well, it will increase some land that city. We already have where the substation of the police department is going to be. But if we have the Municipal Coliseum Auditorium is the most valuable piece of land that the city of Lubbock owns. why don't we give that or trade it to Texas Tech for another valuable piece of land, maybe like on 4th Street in Quaker or somewhere we're growing out west? Why don't we trade that for a valuable piece of land they have that we can use in the future?
Visiting with Pat Kelly, candidate for Lubbock City Council. There's been talk of the city entering into or possibly entering into a public-private partnership for with a hotel that would be connected or right next to the Civic Center. What are your thoughts on that?
I've been keeping track of that. I have good thoughts on that. The problem, I don't think the city ought to be picking win-win, lose-lose people. That should be a private entity. It's sort of like the other project that's in North Overton that the cities have some financial responsibility in. Our debt is big enough. I don't think we need to be incurring more debt for the bottom floors of the new Civic Center Hotel. I think we can reduce our debt that way. I think once the hotel comes aboard, what's going to follow? Additional money to expand the Civic Center? There's ramifications for everything you do, so we really need to look at beyond what's going on today.
It seems like the city council has been pretty good at spending money lately on a lot of different projects. Big question is, how much are taxes going to go up in the future? For you, if you're on the Lubbock City Council, you may have to make some pretty tough choices when it comes to the issue of taxes. What is your philosophy overall on that?
Let's get the record straight here. I believe in using tax dollars for infrastructure, including affordable homes, bettering communities, not just my district, the city throughout. However, I think we need to use it wisely. Or, as you know, you probably got your tax appraisal in the mail the last few days, and mine went up almost $37,000, my valuation. Well, the problem with that is the valuations went up, but the tax rate stayed the same. So that really affects your effective tax rate. So I'm going to propose that we lower the tax rate to do that. But there's one key I don't think very many people have thought about. When your valuations for your property goes up, so does your homeowner's insurance. So you get a double whammy there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people realize that's what's happening here.
Pat, if people have more information, I know voting starts very, very soon. Of course, May 5th is the election. And if people have more questions about you, how can they find out more information about yourself and your campaign? My
personal cell phone number is 806-470-1565, repeating 806-470-1565. And always visit me on my Facebook. That's fb.me/Kelly, capital KELLY, 4, number 4, capital C, Council, COUNCIL, 2018.
All right. And they can just look you up that way, get in touch with you. And, of course, we'll have you back on the show as we get closer to Election Day. And, who knows? Maybe we can get a debate maybe between you and your opponent.
I will love a debate. I believe in interactions, so yeah. I will love a debate. And, Chad, I really appreciate the time you're affording me here on your radio station.
You bet. Thank you for joining us today. That's Pat Kelly, Lubbock City Council candidate for District 1.